Hey, we are finally live. Hey guys, this is Brad and Mike with Dallas Geek. We do apologize for the minor delay. We're having some technical difficulties getting our Facebook feed going. So, yay, technology.
It's swell.
Oh my gosh. In the meantime, hi everybody, we are back with yet another lunchtime video. This time talking about what may be the future of conventions. Obviously, the 2020 convention season is non-existent at this point. I mean, even San Diego has had to drop out because of just a lack of ability to do anything. So everybody's been scrambling to try to find a new way to make it happen, because obviously fans still want to be able to have that experience even if they know they can't do it in person. So that really leaves the internet and this new idea of virtual conventions. Now, whether or not virtual conventions will catch on, or if they're even a good idea, I don't think anybody really knows, because this is such a new concept. But today we're going to go ahead and dive into what that is, or at least what it could be, and see which ones are coming up soon so you can take a look and try it out. Mike?
Yeah, so like you said, this is very uncharted waters, new territory, I guess whatever cliche you want to use moving forward, with the online convention. There have been some conventions that have been doing it for a little while. As far as we've found in our research, nothing to the scale that some of them are trying to pull off now. So this really is, I hate to use the kind of cliche, but this is kind of a let's see what happens kind of thing. Now, like you said, there's a lot of people speculating that this could be kind of the norm for conventions moving forward, or not the norm, but you could see a shift. Maybe this is kind of the start where kind of some smaller conventions kind of spring up. Yeah. Maybe you see some conventions that maybe people that had the idea of running a convention but couldn't really pull the funds together to rent out convention halls or something like that. Maybe this is a way for them to kind of get their foot into the door as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what new cons start up from this, what cons maybe try to come back that haven't been around for a little while, and then it's also going to be interesting to see kind of the formula that they put together and how it works. I know in doing our research, there's a couple coming up that are talking about like paid tiers of access, kind of like how you would have with a normal con. That seems to be something that keeps popping up pretty regularly throughout what we've seen. So I feel like something like that would stay in the long run, but other avenues of access are going to be really interesting to see, like what con kind of comes up with what, and what kind of becomes the industry standard, if you will.
Hey Mike, I do actually have a bit of news. Looks like our Facebook feed finally popped up.
Hey, look at that.
Go figure. So very quickly, for those of you that are watching us on Facebook, we had a little bit of technical difficulty at the beginning of the show, but we are going to be talking today about the adjusted 2020 convention schedule and this idea of virtual conventions. If they're going to work, if they're not, and what the heck are they to begin with. So if you're interested to see the little bit that we'd already been talking about before, we will go ahead and post the full video after this is done on our Facebook page, so don't worry, but in the meantime, we'll jump right into it. So yeah, Mike, this idea of a virtual convention is, I think it's going to be really interesting, because from what we've been seeing in our research so far, there really seem to be a few different approaches to the idea. You have the conventions that are essentially treating this as an open experience for kind of like just a very large version of like a Zoom or Skype call that people can jump in on and kind of interact back and forth with, or do it as a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever, and just have comments going real time to interact with the people in panels, or doing whatever presentation they would normally have done at a convention. And then you have others that are kind of trying to make this into a complete virtual environment, even down to having what is being described as a virtual vendor floor or virtual exhibit hall. That I'm not entirely sure what that actually means, but it's definitely intriguing. I'd love to be able to see what that actually looks like, and you know, I mean, is this just a very, very interactive set of links on a website, or are we talking something much more in depth, like 360 video virtual environment kind of stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's something that I didn't really think about until we kind of started getting into the research. Is so much of the con experience is literally getting out onto like the con floor or the vendor floor and just seeing and taking everything in. Like, that's something, are they going to be able to actually capture that in a virtual environment? Like, are they going to get to capture the feeling of like, hey, I want to go to this panel here at 2, but there's also this thing going on the other side of the convention hall floor at 2:30, but this panel runs for an hour, so do we go here, do we dip into this, can we go to this and then maybe try to sneak into this panel halfway through? Like, it's very interesting to see exactly how much of the con experience is going to come with this.
Yeah.
I think for logistics standpoint, or from a logistics standpoint, I think the easiest thing to do would be to just set up your links, and you can kind of treat them as like their own panel rooms, and you can just jump in from one room to another. But then you also do kind of lose that sense of connectivity.
Yeah.
Well, not kind of. I mean, you completely lose that sense of connectivity, and I think that's something that people are kind of clamoring for now more than ever with everything that's going on. Like, they want to, as much as possible, interact with others. So
Yeah.
does that take that away, and to what extent are we oh, excuse me. To what extent are the individual cons able to kind of put that environment out there,
Yeah.
knowing, you know, bandwidth usage, download speeds, all of that?
Yeah.
So that's going to be, you know, the technical side is also going to play a huge factor in this as well.
Yeah, and I think the other part that is going to be very, very tricky is normally your convention experience is a pay to visit thing. You pay for your ticket to get in, and then that's when you get access to all the cool stuff at the convention. That is technically possible, being able to set these conventions up behind a paywall of some sort. But part of the issue there is going to be anybody that wants to do it quick and now, essentially, may not have the time to be able to put something like that together, and anybody that doesn't want to put that in just because they want to give back to the fans, so to speak, where does the revenue from the convention come from then? Because even though the convention now doesn't have to pay for a full set of personnel, they don't have to pay for an event location, they don't have to pay for all the typical overhead that they would need to pay for, there's still going to be some need to have revenue if they want to at least break even, if they are still having to, say, pay for guest fees, or pay for even like dedicated bandwidth to be able to broadcast their convention. Maybe they need to have added internet speed or a virtual server to be able to have a backup stream just in case the first one goes down, so that there's no drop in continuity for the viewer's experience. That all costs money. So I'm going to be kind of interested to see how that works out, because some of the conventions that we looked up did seem to be free access. Others were as low as $6 to get in, and then others, you could go in and have like the typical, like $60, $100, $130 entry fee, like you normally would, but those are the ones that were a little bit further out, so clearly they have a little bit more time to put the infrastructure together. But is that time going to make a difference compared to the ones that we see, say, this week or next week? Because there are some coming up, like actually this week and next week, that I'm going to be very fascinated to see how they go.
Yeah, it's so funny because in a lot of the looking into these upcoming conventions that I did, a lot of the personal websites said, like, sign up for the newsletter, more info to come.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a lot of it, because I mean, let's be real, it's a lot of what they're trying to do right now is trying to figure out how to put this together on the fly. And that's not a dig in anybody, that's literally, there are people that are trying to organize this that maybe haven't done much of anything on the virtual side before.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a reality that this is new territory for everybody, literally. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but, one of the things that you brought up was, how are they going to generate revenue? So what if appearance fees for celebrities were going to be much lower because this is on a virtual side, not physical appearance side, meaning you don't have to pay for travel, you don't have to pay for room and board for them, meals for them, anything like that. So, could that actually be a benefit from going to a more virtual side where, literally you're just getting celebrity guests to, basically commit to logging in for a couple of hours out of their day and be done with it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So back this past Saturday, the Sci-Fi Channel had their own specialty convention for with the cast of The Magicians. They just finished their final season, and there are a lot of fans that have come to the show, either recently or long time, that were really interested in trying to see the cast at convention appearances, and now that's not really going to happen. So they had a dedicated Q&A panel online where the fans could jump on, watch the cast do their typical panel conversations, answer questions from the virtual audience, and then if you wanted to have a little extra interaction with them, then you could pay $65 or more to be able to do, either like get a personalized video from one of the actors, or to be able to have a quick one-on-one chat with one of them, or whatever else they were coming up with. And I mean, that would be an easy way that they figured out to be able to replace the typical autograph line and picture line, and what that usually entails. But I mean, I don't know if that is a sustainable option for every one of these conventions, since this was a very specific and dedicated event just for that one show's cast. Now, if you're going to be coming up to a different convention that has more variety in guests, and it's going to be a little bit harder to be able to have any kind of one-on-one interactions with every guest, because there are a few of them that actually have, a fairly normal number of guests that are going to be involved for like a smaller convention. How do you do that? Do you even have an autograph or photo op equivalent for that event? Like I said, I know that we're saying a lot of what ifs and maybe kind of, sort of, but I think that just comes back to nobody really knows what this is going to turn into because this is all brand new, but it has a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, and look, I think the personalized like one-on-one and the personalized like message greeting, everything like that, I think that's a really cool idea. And I think, if you can get the celebrity that is okay with setting up that time and that that thing, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, sorry, having a brain fart, but I mean, if you get that celebrity that's cool with doing that, then I feel like that would be a pretty easy, like, hey, let's do it that way. I mean, let's be honest, when you go through an autograph line or when you go through a photo op line, most celebrities are going to sit there and take a minute to chat with you, to ask you how your experience is going, before they sign whatever you brought for them or before they get in for the photo op and take the picture, at least from my experience.
Yeah.
They don't literally usher you in, take the picture, and then usher you out.
Well, some of them do, but...
They spend, well, yeah, but more so than not, you do get them that will actually sit there and take a minute or two to talk to you. So I think that's actually a pretty natural kind of replacement for that, and it's actually a pretty ingenious replacement for that as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that's an easy, like, hey, do you guys get okay with maybe taking like 2 to 3 minutes per paying customer and just kind of talking with them?
Yeah.
Seeing how they're doing isolation, everything like that. I feel like that's a pretty simple, help me, Brad. What's the word I'm looking for? Alternative.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, speaking of the other options that are out there and what they could end up offering for the guests and virtual attendees. So on April 26th, there is COSnet. That is going to be a cosplay specific virtual convention that is where you're going to have a lot of online panels, Q&A, some how-tos, not just from cosplay specific, but also from industry experts for like special effects makeup and prosthetics and prop making. There's going to be a cosplay competition, apparently, and there will be some direct feedback and advice from cosplay experts that are going to be there as guests to kind of help the attendees get some tips and tricks about how to improve their cosplay and continue to grow in the community. And in fact, former cosplayer that we've interviewed for this show, Oh My Sophie, is going to be one of the guests for that, as well as a Dallas-based cosplayer, Eliza Arguero. Eliza, I'm so sorry if I just butchered your last name, but she is part of the 501st, and she is a pretty normal staple at a lot of the conventions around here. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there are a lot of things that are coming up for just about every niche in the community.
Yeah, and specifically with this one, this one seems like it's more so aimed at education for incoming cosplayers and makeup artists and visual effects artists.
Yep.
You're going to get actual feedback from industry experts. But the big thing is that with all the downtime, this is the perfect time for people to be working on cosplays. This is the perfect time for people to kind of start dipping their toe in and getting the experience of like how you would make a cosplay, what kind of time and effort goes into it. So something like this, where we're actually going to have a dedicated couple of hours where everybody can kind of throw their questions at leading industry experts, is I think really ingenious, in all honesty.
Yeah. Now coming in for May 1st and 2nd. So normally the first Saturday of May is Free Comic Book Day. Obviously, with pretty much every comic book shop across the country being closed down, that's not really possible to do this year, as unfortunate as that is, because that's usually a great starting place for anybody wanting to get into comic books to be given some nice introductory points that they can try kicking off from. But we do have comic book creators Russell Nolte and Neo Edmond that are going to be hosting their own alternate Free Comic Book Day, which is going to be their own virtual Free Comic Book Day, where they're going to be bringing in not only themselves but several other comic book creators to try to have their own version of the event for this year and still try to give that that kind of fun comic book introduction experience for everybody.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, usually the first Saturday of every month, or of every May, is, you know, Free Comic Book Day. I mean, not a national holiday, but maybe we should start looking into that.
Kinda for us.
Yeah, right. The big thing with Free Comic Book Day is that it's the sense of community that it brings.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I think it was it last year that you and I went to Madness on Free Comic Book Day?
2 years ago.
Or was that 2 years ago? That was okay, yeah. So that was 2 years ago. So I went with somebody else last year then.
Yep.
Sorry, I know. I went out with somebody else, Brad.
It's okay. I'll survive.
I think it was you, Kyla. Yeah. Okay, so then it's okay. We went to Docs, that's what it was. So, but so it's the cool thing with Free Comic Book Day, it's the sense of community. It's the people that have been reading for 15 and 20 years mixed in with the people that are just kind of casual that pick up the crossover events, mixed in with, you know, the moms and dads that are bringing their kids in to pick up their first comic book.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the cross-generational and cross-genre kind of defining day for comic book readers.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. And then, you know, on top of just, you know, Marvel, DC, they all give out their free publications and everything like that, and it'll usually be a tie-in to, like, so whatever the big event going forward for them is, and you'll have introductions to, like, big storylines that are going to be hitting that year. But the big thing too is that there are other promotions going on, generally put on by the actual comic book store.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a day to go and to look up, and, like, literally, I don't think there's been a Free Comic Book Day that I haven't gone to where I didn't spend at least an hour to an hour and a half in the store.
Yeah. And
didn't spend a lot of money, because I usually spend a lot of money on Free Comic Book Day.
And just to let the comic book fans know, if you are interested in checking out the alternate Free Comic Book Day, some of the guest speakers that are going to be involved are going to be Marv Wolfman, Kevin Eastman, David Avalon, Ben Bishop, Troy Little, Richard Starkings, Sandy Carpenter, and honestly, a pretty massive guest list that just seems to keep on going.
Like
this is going to be an event that's worth getting into. If you're a comic book fan, you'll be able to see a lot of the names that you've been enjoying their work for a while, and if you are wanting to get into it, you're going to be seeing some very well-known names in the industry kind of helping to introduce you to their comics and the things that you should go pick up and start reading.
Yeah, and remember, that is going to be a 2-day event.
Yes, it is May 1st and
Saturday.
2nd.
That's going to be the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, judging by the names that they have, I can understand why it's a 2-day event.
Yeah. And at the same time, we do have from May 1st through 3rd, we have Toki-Kon that is hosted by the Midwest Esports. They are a group out of Wichita, Kansas, and this is going to be their virtual anime and gaming convention that they are hosting in place of the convention they were going to be having up in Kansas. And the reason why we bring this up, on top of the fact that it is this one actually does look like they have a bit of infrastructure already in place for it, is that once again, Oh My Sophie is attached to this. She actually works with the Midwest Esports groups and has done some stuff to help get them going, get people to know about them. So I mean, I'm all for checking it out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the big thing is like you said, esports. There's going to be tournaments all over the place. They're also going to have tabletop tournaments going on.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to see how that's done virtually. I would assume you would just play the TCG version or the online version of whatever TCG or tabletop game you're playing.
Maybe.
And then, I'm sorry?
I said maybe. I mean, you could also try to do just like have the if you have the game in front of you, just do your part of it and try to, be honest about what's actually happening. I don't know.
Honesty in online tournaments, come on, Brad. Come on. Yeah, so, several online tournaments will be played during this. They're going to have costume contests. From the sounds of it, is they are trying to put on the closest thing to the actual experience of actually being at the con.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting to see how they pull that one off.
They were one of the ones that actually are saying that they're going to have a virtual exhibitor floor with 100+ vendors that are going to be involved, interactive game rooms, an online happy hour, and a cosplay ball of some sort, although I couldn't really find much of a description of what that is. I am interested to see what they do, how they pull that off, because obviously having some kind of cosplay ball or dance event is usually a pretty normal staple for a lot of these bigger anime-based conventions, but I don't really know how you would do that virtually, but I think it'd be very fascinating to see. Also, this is a convention that is going to where was it? Yeah, they are still going to be having panels, so I don't know how that all is going to work out.
Yeah, that one sounds like it's going to be a pretty full experience.
Yep.
So that's one that I'm really interested to see how it turns out.
Yep. And one quick update. So I jumped ahead. The cosplay ball is actually for the next thing that we're doing. They are simply having a costume contest for Toki-Kon. My bad.
Oh, well, way to mess that up, Brad.
I know. Not like, we've already had any other technical difficulties to throw me off my game today.
And they're all your fault.
I'll take that. But the next one up is May 9th and 10th is Virtual Pop Expo. This is the thing with the cosplay ball. And virtual exhibitor floor, and this is actually going to be sponsored by Nerdbot Media, Kaleido, Experience Level Entertainment, and Legion M.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some pretty big name sponsors for this one. Like you said, they're supposed to have the costume ball. This is also supposed to be. This one is the one that's going to be very interesting. This is supposed to be like 100+ vendor interactive floor.
Yeah.
Which I will be very, very, very interesting. I can't even begin to imagine like how they would actually set that up.
I don't know. And the really tough thing for us to even start guessing is their website is a little bit on the bare bones side right now. So, I mean,
probably not on accident. They're probably trying to literally make it as. They're probably trying to keep everybody guessing. Let's be honest.
Yeah, which could go in their favor, maybe not. Either it's going to end up, they're keeping it kind of minimal right now because they're still setting things up, or they are trying to minimize expectations just in case things don't quite work out the way they are hoping. So, but either way, it does look like it will be a potentially fun thing, but even more importantly than that, the guest list. Currently there are only 6 confirmed guests for the convention, but one of them is friend of the show, Gigi Edgley. and that is always fun to be able to see her getting out to another convention, because honestly we had so much fun interacting with her when we have, and we definitely are looking forward to the next time that she can make it back to Dallas, because she's just awesome.
Yeah, that was probably one of the more fun things that I've ever done, was interviewing her and her brother. As absolutely terrified as I was during said interview, which I'm sure I hit it so well. But yeah, this one, I'll be really interested to see how this con turns out.
Yeah.
You know, interactive game rooms, online happy hour.
Yep.
I don't know what that is.
No.
I don't know how that works, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and then May 17th, StarNet. It is a Star Wars convention put on by the same organization that's doing COSnet, and basically same idea as COSnet, but for Star Wars. Online video panels, real-time interactions with guests, $6 entry. I mean, yeah, it seems fun.
Yeah, pretty straightforward Star Wars nerddom. You know, not nearly as cool as Star Trek nerddom, let's be honest. But
but let's see, the guests that they do have booked right now, they do have they have a decent number of guests. A lot of the back of the house, like props and special effects, cast and crew members. You do have a couple of the actors, it looks like, and yeah, it looks like they are still working on trying to confirm a few more people to be involved in this.
Right.
Oh, and of course they also have currently Spencer Wilding, the guy in that was Darth Vader for Rogue One.
Right. Right, yeah, so a pretty good guest list, like you said, a lot of the technical side. So that would be interesting to kind of see the technical side of the creation of the Star Wars universe and everything like that. So that would be one, if you're a very big tech nerd, along with your Star Wars nerddom, that would be a fun one to interact with.
Yeah. Now, we have two more virtual conventions that are coming up, and we'll go through these real quick. Second to last is going to be May 29th through 31st, which is the 55th annual Nebula conference. This is going to be, looks like, exclusively online video panels. Nothing too terribly complex, but it does have a $150 entry fee, so I don't actually know what's going to come with that. They are one of the ones that, while they do have some details, it's not very detail heavy on the convention itself, more the details on the format for the convention. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. But they do, it's the thing that's a little bit different about them is that they have kind of rebranded the people responsible for running the convention as Grandmaster, Solstice recipient, Service to SFWA recipient, and Toastmaster for the awards ceremony. That's part of this, and I don't really know what that actually means, but it does. It has potential. Let's just say that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think, you know, moving forward, I think that's what you're gonna see with a lot of these is there's potential for something cool to be there. You know, just we don't know a lot about them, and again, like I said, that's not necessarily on accident. That's more so just I think a lot of these people are trying to figure out more the virtual side and how to put it together.
Yeah.
So I think just details are going to basically come out as they feel comfortable giving them out.
Yeah. And then the last convention on the list currently is July 29th through August 2nd, which is CoNZealand. It is a New Zealand-based convention. Apparently, this is their 78th World Science Fiction convention.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. This I don't actually have a lot of information on. I'm not as familiar with New Zealand convention scene, but I mean, it does look like they have some stuff going on that is a bit more unique to them that a lot of the other conventions just don't really have. Mike?
Right. Yeah, so I did some digging into this. So from what I can understand, it's this convention, if I'm not mistaken, actually moves. So this is not just a New Zealand thing. This thing actually moves locations every year. When you actually pay in, you don't become a con attendee, you actually become a member.
Okay.
And members get certain benefits. So one of the things you can do is you can actually vote on the location of the event that's 2 years out. On top of that, all attendees or members, they call themselves members, not attendees. They basically are voters of the Hugo Awards, which is like the top science fiction awards that are going on, in the world.
Okay.
So you actually get to vote on the Hugo Awards, and then that's actually where the Hugo Awards ceremony is actually held every year. So from all that I gathered, this is a pretty big deal. Like, this is very much a members-only convention, if you will.
Okay.
Where actual members actually have say in what goes on.
Okay.
Which is an interesting concept. Just reading, the information about it. Like I said, being able to literally have a say in where it's held, being able to have a say in, who's awarded, X, Y, and Z award in the realm of science fiction. Like, that's a pretty big deal.
I mean, if I was close enough to one of these things, I'd definitely love to check it out at some point. I don't know, this definitely sounds more different than most of the rest of the conventions that we've talked about so far, so.
Right, this one really has the sense of like being a member of the actual convention itself, which is very interesting. These other, most conventions kind of put it forth as like, hey, you're an attendee, you're getting to experience X, Y, and Z. Like, this one, from what all I've read, is literally, hey, you get to attend X, Y, and Z. You also have a say in how X, Y, and Z is presented and handled and, like, actually put together a bit.
Okay.
It's kind of cool.
Okay. Nice. Okay, well, I mean, that's really everything that we have to talk about. We don't really need to keep going on about things that may or may not be. I just have to say, let's see what happens. I hope it goes well, because I think that this could be a very interesting idea to move forward with, even when the normal convention season comes back into existence. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, for the time being, it's going to be hurry up and wait, but I'm very intrigued to see, if there are some smaller conventions that gain footing from this, what happens moving forward with them. And do we see more conventions that are kind of struggling with in-person attendance shift to the virtual side, knowing that it may be a little bit easier and a little bit more cost-efficient to put together a virtual convention as opposed to an in-person convention?
Sure. Okay.
So, I mean, it's only time's going to tell kind of thing.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Fingers crossed we find out.
With that, if you've stuck around till this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. We do appreciate it. If this is your first video of ours to check out, definitely thank you for making this the one. And please do not forget to like and follow us over on Facebook, and to like and subscribe on YouTube. It really does help out the show, and if you can even share us with your friends, that would be fantastic. But otherwise, until next time, this has been Brad and Mike with Dallas Geek saying, see ya.